1, Scarlett versus SOS, a best of 7 in the Intel Extreme Masters PyeongChang Finals. Introducing our players. In the upper left, in the blue, from Canada, she is Scarlett. And her opponent here in the bottom right, in the red, from Korea, he is sOs.
And here it goes. It's going to be very important for us to watch. What do they make in the early game here? Where are they going with their strategies? Does someone decide to rush early on? Does someone decide to play a very greedy style, taking a lot of bases to try to gain the edge in that way? And of course, both sides already scouting their opponents here. This probe checking out what's going on, delaying that hatchery for a moment. And the drone coming down as well. Oh, that already.
So, as we were saying before, the possibility of Scarlett derailing whatever strategies SOS might try to pull off by opening up with something that will then dictate how SOS has to respond. And we're seeing that right away here with a hatchery planted at the expansion that SOS is supposed to take.
Yeah, this is a big moment for Scarlett. Now, there's multiple things she could be planning with this because it is the third hatchery. She's making sure she already made one at her expansion and then made this one afterwards. It's going to be up a little bit late, so this could just be to slow down SOS a little bit. She might just end up canceling this hatchery and letting him build his Nexus.
But by doing that, it's taken some of the rhythm out of SOS's play, especially when you consider how fine-tuned the builds are that SOS tends to bring out. Having to pull for drones like that, probes like that, and delay some other structures from coming out. This could be a little bit tricky now for SOS.
Sure.
Then again, SOS, somebody who's so good at thinking on his feet.
That's true.
He may just end up coming up with a different style or opening on the fly.
You know, he ends up getting the cancel there. The drone even makes it out, so a little bit of a moral victory here for Scarlett, escaping with that drone. But SOS has decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead, take that Nexus, but put some pressure on as well. Already, those initial Zealots headed across the map.
As we see these Zealots headed northbound over to the second base, it's not clear how prepared Scarlett is going to be. We see an Adept just off the territory of Scarlett, now going to push in, and Scarlett seems to be pulling some of her units back, perhaps not really expecting such an interesting counterattack here. And now many of these drones may be taken out.
Yeah, already some damage put on them, but they get pulled back very nicely. Great micro here from Scarlett, controlling her units so well, dealing a lot of damage to these Zealots.
Interesting the way this game's panning out. This looks like a game from maybe 12 years ago in Brood War playstyle, with the Zealots actually running in and then trying to get behind the minerals. Moving forward here, though, I got to say, I think Scarlett handled that very well.
Yeah, the fact that Scarlett did not lose any of her workers is so important at this stage of the game. When you actually commit that many units across the map, you're expecting a bit of damage, but Scarlett takes absolutely none.
So far, no real mistakes seen here from Scarlett. SOS is making the first Oracle to try to come in and kill off any workers that Scarlett can use. This unit can also be used to try to monitor the movement of armies later on. By the way, with the scouting of SOS, he does identify the exact moment Scarlett opts to acquire a third base.
Yeah, very important stuff, especially with that Oracle already flying across the map. Continuing to utilize his Adepts, kind of shading in and canceling that. It just gives him a little bit of a scout, a little bit of intel as to what Scarlett's up to. But Scarlett's defense so far is pretty awesome. The Queens continue to kind of roam around to try to block any Oracles, and she even gets a full scout off here on the main base of SOS.
Oracle now moving out, and it looks as though we're going to see some attempts to stun the workers. And I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised Scarlett reacted that slowly to that. Not that it's incredibly impactful, but
yeah,
a very tiny victory there for SOS.
Definitely a little bit more damage than you would expect at that point. It looks like here we have a Twilight Council down, and it's getting the glaive upgrade for Adept, so that's going to make them so powerful. Now, will SOS really commit fully to a gigantic attack? I think this is mostly going to be pressure out of SOS. He'll see if he can get some damage done, sure, but like all of his eggs aren't going to be in this basket.
It is a big difference and something that must be emphasized. The difference between a pressure build and an all-out attack. A pressure build is trying to force your opponent into slowing down their own economy so that they have enough defense they don't get taken out, whereas a full-on attack is generally intended to end the game.
Well, this is a good amount of Adepts right here, dealing a lot of damage to those Zerglings already. The Oracle coming in to help out as well. A good amount of Queens fighting against these Adepts, but they are going for the drone line, really trying to get some damage done.
Okay, you can see the shading Adepts. Looks like they may be staying in the main over here. And a lot of workers now being driven back. The splitting of these Adepts by SOS is immaculate. He's already taken out 5 workers of Scarlett's.
This is some good damage already. This is really what you're looking for with an attack like this. And behind this, there's double robotics on the way for SOS, and he's taking a third base. So again, even when these die, he's in good shape.
So coming in now, looks like a few more drones are going to be picked off. And because Scarlett is so distracted by this attack, really forced to defend it, I don't believe that third base by SOS will necessarily be stopped unless Scarlett is to turn around immediately.
Yeah, I'm not sure that she can do too much here. She's just kind of refilling her drone count at this point. SOS actually ahead as far as the workers go, so his economy is going to be great once that third Nexus finishes. But Scarlett's making roaches, and against a double robotics bay, that's something that you can really punish as SOS. The Immortals are going to come out and really be powerful this game.
We see now a Phoenix just trying to drive away that Overlord, and now continuing to check and see how many drones have been remade, whether or not SOS can get a glimpse of what the army composition is. Some roaches are coming out, and we may actually see Scarlett try to put her own pressure on down here in the south.
Well, some more roaches are being made, quite a few in fact, so it does look like she wants to get an attack going. You know, a lot of people like to make roaches against the Adepts, but little does she know, really Adepts are not on the menu for SOS anymore. He has transitioned. He's getting a lot of Immortals, Sentries, even some Zealots here to help deal with those roaches.
And I have to say, I think SOS looks to be in a position where it's going to be pretty tough for Scarlett to try to break, but with some of these upgrades finishing, I can't really blame her if she does try it. We see this army now headed southbound, and with Queens coming with this shows that this is actually a very committed attack.
Yeah.
Since the Queens can actually heal some of the attacking roaches, and now some of those roaches being turned into Ravagers, so there'll be some artillery at play here as well, and that may make it a little bit more difficult. But hold on, is this going to be an overextension here for Scarlett?
Whoa! You are right about that, Tasteless. Some great force fields going down, but the Corrosive Vials clear them out. Scarlett has a huge army, but these Immortals are so strong against roaches.
It's going to be tough for Scarlett to break in still, but it seems as though she is committed. The 3 Queens now coming forward. We need to keep our eyes on those 5 Immortals just at the center of our screen here. Those are the real damage dealers.
Yeah, and those Ravagers as well, dealing a lot of damage, throwing down those Corrosive Vials, getting rid of force fields each and every time. Just the Immortals left over here with a few Sentries. Scarlett trying to get on top of them. More force fields coming out. The probes being pulled as well.
We have a few links coming down here from above to try to draw some fire from those Immortals, and it certainly is working, but some reinforcements coming in to try to help out here from SOS as well.
Oh, these Zerglings doing such a great job at tanking a lot of damage here, but the army of Scarlett is beginning to fall. Just a handful of units left over. The Queens dealing some damage to the Immortals. More Zerglings coming down. Only 2 Immortals left.
We see a few more Zerglings streaming down here from the north down to the south. As long as Scarlett can keep those Immortals away, I think the third base from SOS will fall.
Some great play here from Scarlett, keeping this pressure on. SOS had that early advantage, but can he hold on at this point? Zerglings coming up, trying to surround this army. Another Immortal falls.
Good dodging here by SOS. The fight has now been pushed over to this entrance to the second base here for SOS, and it seems like Scarlett is slowly pushing SOS back.
Wow, Scarlett still putting on that pressure, still rallying down a few units, but she has switched it up a little bit at home. Some drones are being made. She's continuing on her tech tree, so this is just about the end of the attack. SOS will not be killed off here.
I'm curious to see how many workers were actually killed off back there in that fight, because that's going to be the real story. And it looks like actually that was a decent amount of damage. So while the third base remains, the number of workers that can gather resources has been reduced enough that I would say nicely done there by Scarlett. It's still not enough to win the game, but it does put her in a pretty interesting position. She now takes a fourth base, and this is not where Pig was expecting a fourth base to ideally be taken. This one is more out towards the center of the map, an easier location for SOS to push.
That is true, but SOS doesn't have a very large army after that. She took out a lot of his units and very nicely transitioned back into building her economy, back into making drones. So when we take a look at what their economies look like, 72 workers against 49, Scarlett is in a very strong spot this game.
I'm curious to see what exactly SOS is going to try to do to get ahead here. It seems that he's going to set these two adepts over here, and this is nothing major. It's more of a distraction here for Scarlett, which is cleaned up immediately. But SOS either needs to get another base or try to come up with some kind of a push. And I think, to be honest, oh, excuse me, he's doing it right now. The push is actually coming out. But as I say that, it seems like SOS is backing off. This is a very, very tricky position because Scarlett's already gone to another phase in this game, and she may be waiting to gear up and smash an army that does come out from SOS. A supply difference right now of 152 to 106. Scarlett in a very serious lead.
Yeah, she is in great shape right now. Even when you look at the upgrades, she's got 3 different upgrades going on for her units, plus attack upgrades against just one. She's getting speed upgrades, range upgrades, just making her units so much more powerful. But SOS is keeping her busy at least. Look at this, a little bit of harassment at main base. The thing is, Scarlett is so on top of everything, she does not lose even a single unit.
From here, SOS's options are truly limited. We see an observer coming out now, trying to get a glimpse of what the army composition is, and a scary one it is at that. With these lurkers out here, it might be quite easy for Scarlett to force her way into SOS's base, set up a position that SOS cannot deal with, and as that damage continues to be output, the expansion should fall, and we see that attack happening right now.
All right, Scarlett coming down. This is a scary army indeed. But SOS, he's got some Immortals out here, some Archons. His army isn't too bad, so he has a chance to defend this. And at the same time, he has a Warp Prism on the map. That is so crucial. If he can get damage done while Scarlett's entire army is down attacking him and defend, that's where he can come back in this game.
Oh, and it's taken out, completely eliminating that option. Scarlett pushes in at this moment. SOS trying to get into a better position, backing up, hoping to use this area as a bottleneck so Scarlett's army can't quite move through.
I am thinking this is very rough for SOS right now. He doesn't have any aggressive options. He's splitting up his army. It looks like he wants to try a massive flank on Scarlett's army here, but I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I think it might not be enough, Artosis. These Zerglings now spilling in. A dozen workers already killed off. Now, from the north, SOS tries to come in from behind. Does he have enough? The Hydralisks immediately turn around, and that's going to be it. GG! Scarlett on his toes. Moving now into game number 2, introducing our players. In the bottom right, in the blue, from Canada, she is Scarlett! And her opponent here in the upper left, in the red, from South Korea, he is SOS!
This is going to be so interesting how they decide to play this map. Neon Violet Square. It's one of our really strange maps where you have that kind of hidden third base behind your main base, behind your natural. Right there, as you see, no easy way for your opponent to attack that. So this is a map where you can get up to a very large economy without much danger to yourself.
Now, I know this map is a bit new, but from what I've seen casting this game, it seems like a lot of the current meta revolves around not taking that free base in the back right away, but instead trying to save that and hold out for as long as possible. So if you are put into a disadvantageous position, you can then steal that base, almost like it's a securities fund or something. You go back in there, and when you really need the money, you start to withdraw from that location. But this location also has some other interesting facts, is that sometimes people will do things like sneak nidus worms.
Sure, yeah.
There where there's not a lot of attention being put. People will sometimes try to hide some tech or do all sorts of crazy strats. And that actually makes me, generally speaking, a little bit worried here for Scarlett, because I feel like someone like sOs tends to exploit a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's a very tricky player, and if he sees a way that you might not think is coming, you know, something that you might underestimate, he won't hesitate to try to utilize that against you. It's why he's so dangerous. But we'll have to see what he goes for. It's a little bit early in the game to try to guess, but a Stargate will be coming up here from sOs. But again, this is a very standard way to open up with Protoss against Zerg. You know, it gives you some potential to do a little bit of damage, to clear out a couple Overlords with a Phoenix or a Void Ray, and, you know, at least get scouting done, see what your opponent is up to.
Yeah, in the current way Protoss players are approaching the game, if we see a Stargate, we don't really bat an eye. That's pretty much par for the course in an ordinary opener in this matchup. Now, with sOs, we still just don't know what direction he's going to try to take this game, especially in that last series we saw with sOs against Special. He was exhibiting such a range of different approaches in mind games. You know, some games doing a pretty crazy DT rush, in another game using a Colossus to try to harass various locations and shut that down. Anything is still possible here.
Well, Phoenix coming out right now to clear out some Overlords, and it looks like a couple gateways being added on as well. We'll see if he wants to get a little bit aggressive with that. It's always cool to see, do you go for that Phoenix right away, or do you open up with an Oracle immediately? They act a little bit differently. You know, the Phoenix cleaning out those Overlords so your opponent can't scout could mean that sOs wants to be more aggressive, but look at this, he can't find any Overlords. That's
right. Good positioning so far. I think the first Overlord's going to get spotted here. So sOs right now with this unit basically trying to do cleanup here, and this is going to make the map a much darker place. We can never mention enough that StarCraft is a game of imperfect information. So anything that you can hide on the map, or even if you're not hiding anything in a location, the fact that there's doubt in the other player's mind is important. And so this is a pretty standard and, I think, smart way to approach the game here from sOs, who is now going to send his Oracle in here and try to see if he can't pick off any workers. And we already see 2 go down as the Oracle is chased out, pretty bruised, about 30% hit points left there.
Yeah, and that's generally what that looks like for that first Oracle. Now, Scarlett, we had just seen from our wonderful observer, Funka, here, that she hasn't seen that there is, once again, a Twilight here with Glaives on the way for another one of those Adept attacks. So very similar to what we saw in game number 1 from sOs, but he's taking this third behind his base.
So this is interesting, since we've seen a lot of players sometimes try to push out and take a base at points in time. Scarlett may assume the third base hasn't quite been taken just yet. Maybe this is, in fact, a way to make the game look like it might not be ordinary, when in fact sOs is doing something quite standard. Just not the way a lot of the pro gamers, at least that we've seen so far here in the Intel Extreme Masters PyeongChang, playing.
Well, this is it's a more defensive way that sOs is following this up, and that might be because Scarlett's attack did so much damage at his third base in the previous game. So
that's a good point. It could be a response just to game 1.
Yeah, because now Scarlett can't really do an attack like that. You know, he has too many defensive structures in position. So I kind of like what we're seeing here. Scarlett, though, already very well defended against this Adept attack. Look at this, a lot of Banelings, a lot of Zerglings here. And there's no way that sOs can get in against that much.
Yeah, well, especially the way that Scarlett's controlling those units. If the Adepts are to actually fully commit to shading in, they would all be eliminated immediately. And this means sOs doesn't have a lot of options. I suppose he's at least doing his best to keep Scarlett honest and make sure that she actually has enough and isn't being too greedy to not hold off one of these attacks.
All right, now Scarlett going up to a Hydralisk Den, and it looks like that's going to be some very standard play. If there's no heavy aggression that you need to defend with Roaches, going right up into Hydralisk can be very strong indeed. Also getting Overlord speed so that she can scout a little bit better here. Whereas sOs, a little bit different with his style. Once again, showing that he has a really big range, going into Blink Stalkers, and it looks like Colossus.
Okay, the Adepts, another nice poke in doing a little bit of damage. And we're seeing now the economy really kick in here for SOS, which means in about the next minute here, the muscle that SOS will have on the map is going to be a burden here for Scarlett, because Scarlett will be required to take a 4th base. Where will she take that 4th base? I'm assuming it will be, I'm sorry, 5th base is what I meant to say. It could be somewhere perhaps adjacent to the 4th base that's just to the right of the center of the minimap. And
Okay.
there it is.
Yeah, all right, so that 5th base going down. She's also preparing to do some harassment of her own, morphing some drop overlords. But first, we're going to see that Warp Prism come in and try to drop off some units and deal some damage in Scarlett's main.
Okay, here comes that Warp Prism now. Edging in on the side. And I don't believe, excuse me, it looks like, in fact, SOS is going to go ahead and drop this out here. Very important that SOS tries to keep the Warp Prism alive, and that's why the Queen is always targeting that as that comes in there.
Yeah, great defense there by Scarlett, but SOS still picks off 4 drones and gets out alive. So a worthwhile harassment from him, but not as much damage as maybe he was hoping for.
So we're getting to a point in this game where Scarlett is also about to have a very, very robust economy. And it's going to be fun to see how exactly her and SOS are trying to engage each other on a map like this, which is quite big. Scarlett does not have territorially a ton of the map where she can safely engage on. And we know that just because of how much of the creep is spread out. And it seems like now SOS is going to come out here and basically flex that muscle and make Scarlett really respect his army as Scarlett continues to stay back and produce.
Scarlett getting ready maybe for some aggression of her own. She's morphing a lot of lurkers here, so this is going to get very interesting very quickly. The play between these lurkers and the Colossus is cool, because the Colossus can beat the lurkers, but it's very time intensive for the Protoss. You really have to control non-stop for a long time to take them out, so generally you're going to avoid them. So these can be used very well offensively or defensively.
We also want to watch and make sure that those lurkers are not cornered, because a lot of times one moment in a game, we will see the lurkers actually get cornered and taken out, and that's so much of what the Zerg is invested in. Now, we also see a drop coming up here towards the main as well.
Yeah, this is really interesting. There's 4 lurkers and 3 Hydralisks here with an Overseer. So I think this is going to be some harassment on the minerals, and there's a chance here that you pick off the Observer that can see those burrowed lurkers. And then it becomes very difficult to actually clean up.
And I don't believe there's any Observer over that location. And while this is happening, Scarlett's army almost baited into coming out and trying to save, trying to engage in that army. We see the lurkers now coming down here. But Scarlett picks up, and also there's a harass attack over here from SOS in the very, very, very bottom right side of the map. Although I think really the bigger threat here might be the drop from these lurkers. Although it seems like both players are trying to juggle so many tasks at once. Nobody's having an easy time of it.
Yeah, but it looks like SOS coming out on top a little bit here. Already 12 drones getting killed by this small Adept drop. So really not spending that much, but getting some great value out of it is our Korean player, SOS.
Scarlett does come in at a different angle here. Has not quite broed that lurker over there in that location. It seems like several times in the center of the map, we've seen some engages where some of Scarlett's army has been pulled back in, has been fished away from the ideal position, and has taken some damage. But Scarlett seems to be committing now. We're seeing a major attack happen up here at the entrance, although SOS's position looks strong enough, and so Scarlett does back out, looking for a different opening.
Scarlett continues to harass with these lurkers. She's actually killed a decent amount of workers right now with the lurkers. Workers with the lurkers, as they say. Say that 3
Rap
times
God
fast.
over here, Artosis.
Oh, yeah.
So Scarlett is now setting up for an attack in 2 different locations. It looks like she's actually drawn at the majority of SOS's army over to the screenshot we have here. But down in the south, this push is coming in, and SOS is having to relocate, although it does look like he's relocated fast enough to drive away that initial attack. So Scarlett then moves back up and tries to wedge her way in further, trying to make a divide between the 3rd base and the 4th.
Wow, some great play coming out of Scarlett right now, flanking from 2 different sides here, trying to make it difficult for SOS to clean up anything.
She's actually just breached the main. If you see over here, she's actually got those lurkers set up so that the main army here of SOS cannot come in. And so these Hydralisks are coming up. If she can actually get up the ramp, this is going to be a huge damage to the production here of SOS.
SOS having a very difficult time right now. Those lurkers sieging up everything. SOS attacking him, but the lurkers are dealing so much damage.
I don't believe SOS has any vision over there, and that's going to be it. GG. Going to game number 3 with Scarlett versus SOS. Introducing our first player in the bottom right, in the blue, from Canada, she is Scarlett. Her opponent in the upper left, in the red, from South Korea, he is SOS.
Well, we'll have to see what strategies are going to be pulled out this time. Scarlett actually with a pretty quick gas and spawning pool, so it looks like she's probably going to be aggressive right off the bat this game. Of course, yes. SOS down with the probe. Going to follow this drone down to that natural expansion where Scarlett does want to expand to.
So a lot of times if a Protoss can interfere with the planting of the most standard location for the second base, the Zerg player then expands further out rather than trying to deal with that probe first, because expansion tempo is far too important early on in StarCraft 2 to ever be ignored. So it does not put the Zerg in an ideal situation, but generally at professional level StarCraft, it's not enough for us to say that a Protoss player is really in a clear lead.
You know, 6 Zerglings being made, Zergling speed on the way. This has to make SOS at least a little bit nervous. You're not really sure what Scarlett's going to do, but the fact that she's getting Zerglings out this quickly means that she can kill off any probes near her base. It's going to be even harder to scout. She could go into unit production. And we just saw in Scarlett's first-person view, she's making an evolution chamber. This means that she wants to transform an Overlord and drop those Zerglings into the main base.
So this is something that can certainly cost the Protoss player a good number of workers if it's not handled correctly. And we already see those Zerglings now attacking over here at the front where the Wallen is to keep a little bit more pressure on. But of course, when Zerg is doing this, it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, investing in those units. Oh, hold on. Okay, the cancel was forced there, and the Zealot is now out. But this is a double-edged sword in some ways, because if the Zerg doesn't do that much damage, then the Protoss is going to end up ahead for a while in workers.
Now look at this, that Overlord being morphed. The probes are coming over. Zerglings drop out one at a time, so if they're there waiting, SOS can stop those Zerglings, but she actually attacks the front once again. A full wall-in is made. SOS is actually defending very well so far.
Yeah, this is very good footwork here by SOS. Scarlett, you know, continuously mixing it up with these various attacks. And it looks like there is actually a small opening to try to come in here with these Zerglings. So the maneuver from Scarlett did seem to pay off. And now we have to see how many more probes will be taken out. We're already up to 4.
All right, a shield battery even being made, so SOS is not taking this lightly whatsoever. Going down, dropping more Zerglings into the main base. Zerglings also attacking here at the Wallen once again.
Very awesome play here by Scarlett, hitting so many different fronts at once. The Zerglings now looping back around, and I think that, in fact, the entrance of SOS's base may be broken open here, and that would mean no gateway for the time being.
If she can take down this gateway, that is huge. It goes down, and that means that this adept should be picked off as well. More Zerglings dropped off into the main base.
GG!
What? Oh my! And come back. If he can reverse all kill Scarlett here, that's another record all its own.
Introducing our players in the upper left, in the blue, from Canada, she is Scarlett! And her opponent here in the bottom right, in the red, from South Korea, he is SOS!
So our map on this crucial game where SOS must win or he is swept by our Canadian player Scarlett. It is Acid Plant.
That's right. I am really not sure what exactly Scarlett's going to do, and the reason why I'm saying that is because, honestly, she looks like a Zerg version of SOS in this series. She's pulling off so many different play styles, and I think one of the key things, and let's just subtract Game 2 because that was a little bit different, but certainly in Game 1 and Game 3, Scarlett took the initiative, which really meant that if SOS had a strategy, Scarlett acted early, or I should say so early on, that SOS did not get to do what he planned for.
Yeah. Well, he's got to have a very special plan here. You know, again, if he were to come back and win this, a reverse all-kill in the finals of a tournament in a best-of-7 after going down 0-3 and then winning has only happened once in all of StarCraft 2's history.
That's right.
Yes.
And that was, what, 3 or 4 years ago? Correct?
That was, I believe, 2013 is the last time that happened. So that is a long time ago. It's something very rare to stop this momentum that Scarlett has. But SOS is the type of player that can shake something like this off, play his best games, and just treat this like a fresh series.
Well, he's going to have to. Certainly, if there's a player who can pull it off, it is SOS. He's done so many things. He's bended so many rules in StarCraft 2. But can he really do the rule bending in a series like this and overcome a player whose condition seems to be so good that she looks almost unstoppable? Scarlett getting to this point through, I think what most would agree was the hardest section of the bracket. In some ways, SOS is actually one of the easier parts of the bracket. But the truth of the matter is that she is not, it is not a fluke that she's here, and she's proving that right now.
Certainly right about that. Stargate on the way for SOS. But Scarlett, let's see if she's going to get aggressive here. Making a few extra Zerglings, nothing too weird about that. Her speed upgrade is about to finish. But she's getting Evolution Chamber. This could just be for a quick upgrade, but she could go for some harassment as well, like we saw in that previous game, dropping some Zerglings in the main base. If she does this game, though, it's only for a little bit of damage. It's not as aggressive as it was previously.
No, the aggressive play in Game 3 was actually pretty remarkable. The way she was pulling towards the entrance to the natural and then looping back up. And once she got the drop into the main, she then looped back down to get a surround on the gateway that broke the wall and ultimately allowing too many Zerg units to simply put spill in and costing SOS the game.
So he's getting ready to spot something like this incoming. The pylon finishes. She turns the Overlord. We don't know if he actually saw this yet. Looks like he sees it now, though.
The Overlord is gone too far now. She will be unloading. And it looks like initially this will come in, but the Oracle stays back to try to defend. And this puts Scarlett in a bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, and with the Phoenix here to shoot it out of the sky, this is not going to end up doing any real damage. It keeps all of these flying units at home. So in a way, it's defended against what SOS wanted to do with them. But not really, you know, finding any probe kills or anything like that, like Scarlett hoped.
The Oracle should now go up and try to do some scouting. By the way, we have 3 more gateways being added. I don't know. Well, actually, with the Warp Prism coming up here, perhaps we will see SOS try to be the initiator. As so many games, Scarlett has been the one to try to push out and do some damage.
Well, it does look like SOS wants to get aggressive this game. You know, grab a couple of Archons for that massive amount of damage. And some Zealots, maybe with a charge upgrade, to just do damage to Scarlett, try to kill off maybe the 3rd base, get a few drones here and there, get an early advantage.
As this game moves on, we see 22 Zerglings being made here. A Baneling's nest, excuse me, about halfway done. Artosis, are we going to see some aggression here from Scarlett? I think so.
It has to be. 2 Overlords with drop are being created here. So this is for Queens and probably some Banelings as well. But, oh man, this is going to be a really big drop coming out. This is going to be hard for SOS, but he's making a lot of gateways. He's going to have some Archons. This is definitely holdable.
Phoenix also spotting this will be handy as well. We have that Warp Prism now coming back as SOS needs to bring everything that SOS has together in order to hold this initial attack here from Scarlett.
All right, the Oracle coming back for this defense as well. It looks like this Sentry might be picked off, a very valuable unit, so that is a painful loss. But with this Warp Prism coming back with the Archons, this base will not die right now.
But Scarlett is not done yet, now morphing many more Banelings, although this is spotted by SOS. Scarlett now unloading her Queens, beginning to target down the Archon. Good covering because Scarlett actually lost the rest of those Banelings that are being made to bombard SOS. This game could look very different, but SOS still with pretty good positioning seems to be hanging on.
Oh, wow, these Zerglings coming in, trying to deal damage to the Archons while the Queens tank all their damage. A very nice move here from Scarlett. Can she actually force him back? It looks like he will cancel that third base, so he's starting to panic a little bit.
Okay, so being isolated from his third, Scarlett decides to press further forward, and now coming out, she's going to try to come in here and break this position. We have a drop over here on the workers. So far, no kills though.
Yeah, it might be a few right there. That Baneling's going to do a lot of damage.
Okay, no kills, but they're all badly damaged. If Scarlett can actually manage to break in here, she will shut down this game.
Oh man, Scarlett right now trying to push forward. These Overlords are very low on health, so she has to be careful. In the meantime, back at home, she's continuing to tech up. She's getting a Rotor and getting her lair, making some more drones as well, while SOS is stuck back here on two bases.
A drop headed towards the main, hoping to catch SOS off guard, is headed right towards these workers. We see a warp incoming, the workers not yet evacuated. There they go now.
Dropping out these Banelings. It looks like that won't be very much damage to SOS as he defends beautifully against this drop.
SOS, any moment that he had made a mistake back there, he could have lost a huge number of workers. And already the action seesaw is now back to the north side of the map as SOS is trying to put on some pressure of his own.
Oh, look at this great defense by Scarlett. She already has her Queens back. She already has her Zerglings back. SOS trying to get damage done, but again, a perfect defense. It's like Scarlett is reading his mind.
It's crazy the way Scarlett is moving on this map. She is everywhere. We now see another attack coming out from SOS. It's in the center left. It was moving further that direction, but then turns around as SOS appears to be planning to regroup here, possibly to push in towards the area between the second and the third. You could see it's almost as if SOS is feeling out the map, trying to find an opening. And it looks like Scarlett was in fact planning on expanding here. This should be shut down. No, apparently SOS goes by to really try to break into the third base.
This is a really powerful army that SOS has right now. Scarlett still making so many units, but with those sentries, SOS should be able to dictate this battle. Some great force fields going down, blocking Scarlett's army way back.
Scarlett, though, continuing to press through here at the north. With these force fields placed down there, SOS is basically able to block off a huge number of Scarlett's army and continue to do more damage.
Some of the units are spilling through right now, dealing damage. The Archon gets pulled back when it's very low in health. More units being warped in here.
Scarlett comes down here now from the south, doing so much damage, but SOS seems to be pushing through a little bit further. Now that base down in the fourth location has not been taken out, which is important because if Scarlett actually holds this, she still has a fourth base up and running, whereas SOS is only just now reclaiming his third.
Yeah, that would be a big deal. That's definitely an issue here. If SOS could kill that off, that would at least be something. But as is, he's having a hard time breaking in.
By the way, Scarlett sending some Zerglings down southbound. She actually pulls them back, deciding she needs these to try to help defend and hold SOS off in this position.
Force field goes down. SOS attacking in here once again. Just beautiful concave here from SOS, dealing as much damage as he possibly can, picking off so many units. These Immortals dealing massive damage to the Roaches.
Most of the Archons and Immortals are still alive, but SOS does drive, or is driven down rather, to the low ground here. Again, it's Scarlett hanging on. SOS has not really managed to make what I would say is a substantial dent economically into Scarlett, but now SOS, I think perhaps regretting not paying more attention to that location there, sees that the fourth base is finished, and Scarlett looking to possibly try to get us around here. Really, SOS is abusing the fact that he's in this valley.
Yes.
And there's no way for Scarlett to come in and surround.
Oh, he's trying to pick off that hatchery. If he gets a kill on that base, that is a huge deal. We see that Scarlett coming up, trying to defend, but I think, oh yes, he gets this base, and finally, SOS showing some life in this series.
After all that maneuvering back and forth, SOS does manage to destroy that location. Scarlett's now trying to push out and wipe out the remaining forces, but I think that was actually an overextension right there. Again, Scarlett has to keep her head on her shoulders here. This game is not over yet, although I have to say SOS with an impressive push out has done the damage he needed to do. So until Scarlett can reclaim that expansion that was denied, it is 3 base to 3 base in this game.
SOS's unit control here has been remarkable, keeping his units alive, dealing maximum damage with them at every turn. It's really quite a spectacle to behold, because the defense of Scarlett has been on point. She's had her units in the right places, but SOS is pushing through, is forcing damage.
Okay, a great hold here by SOS, trying to just get in this area right above to perhaps poke out. And Scarlett, she has to be careful. She may be overextending. Getting into a fight off of the creep like this could be quite bad.
Ooh, she has a few banelings in that Overlord. She wants to drop that on top of the sentries to see if she can knock those out. That would be a huge deal to take out some crucial units in SOS's army, but he's being so careful, just not letting Scarlett do anything she wants here.
Nice drop over here to try to kill some workers, but Scarlett seems to be interested now in trying to push out. And here comes that drop right on top of the army, unloading and doing a ton of damage, taking out many of those sentries.
Oh, Scarlett pushing through right now. So many Roaches and Ravagers, but these Immortals dealing massive damage. A Warping of Zealots comes from SOS. Can he hold on against this massive Zerg army?
It seems like he's just barely hanging on, but some of the Immortals already so damaged, if any more are picked up. In fact, it's basically just Immortals now. It's just the backbone of the army, no other meat with that. And from there, SOS decides to pull out and return home. That was a skirmish that went on for, I think, a total of 5 minutes or so, as they were boxing each other back and forth around the map. But SOS, I'd say, overall, still coming out on top.
That is as intense as it gets, and I definitely do agree with you there. He was at a big deficit at the start, but here he is. He's killed a base, he's killed a huge amount of units, and kept his Immortals alive. And that is the most important unit in the game right now. They are so strong against the Roaches.
A Spire now coming down for Scarlett, indicating that she's going to be going for air. SOS really making a lot happen with these 2 Immortals. And actually keeping some central control here. SOS has not expanded further, so he's really just trying to keep the pressure on. With supplies fairly even, this is going to be tough because SOS basically has control of this high ground area and can abuse the ramp, making it hard for Scarlett to really win a fight.
Wow, we just saw that that unit's lost. Have 1 Immortal dying for 90-something Roaches. He's attacking in once again. SOS trying to push his advantage right now. Scarlett losing a lot of units. Those Immortals dealing so much damage. A ton of Zealots being warped in from behind. Those reinforcements going to help out massively.
The damage seems to be going up exponentially as the 4th base location is being given up here by Scarlett. Scarlett trying to come down with anything else she has, but there are just too many Immortals. GG! SOS wins its first. Scarlett versus SOS in the IEM PyeongChang Finals. Introducing our first player in the bottom left, in the blue, from Canada, she is Scarlett! And her opponent here in the upper right, in the red, he is SOS!
SOS off of a win in a very close game. If he can win this one, though, I would say that, you know, the tempo kind of goes to him. He has momentum at that point. You know, to be down 0-3, to be losing game number 4, to be on the brink of defeat after not losing a game, getting to the finals, to come back 2-0, that might rattle Scarlett.
Certainly. Certainly it would, but I'm not giving up hope here on Scarlett just yet. I think she's probably still going to be feeling pretty confident by the way, the variation of victories in the first 3 games, and the fact that, honestly, Artosis, she almost broke SOS's base before SOS started that counterattack. I'm almost more curious, is she going to lean more towards aggression here? Because aggression is what got Scarlett here, and aggression is what got Scarlett 2 wins out of the 3 she already has.
Yeah.
Or early on aggression. I mean, I don't see why she should stop.
It's a good point. Like, she's done such a great job with it thus far, even if it's like just minor aggression, right? Just getting a little bit of harassment done, trying to force your opponent onto the back foot. I don't know, though. Sometimes it's smart to play some mind games, you know, to flip it up all the way. Maybe she wants to go for a late game at this point. Maybe she wants to max out with 200 supply army and then go attack.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see here. So far, everything looking pretty ordinary here for SOS, as he's going to be sending out that initial adept to try to get a read, and of course, teching to a Stargate.
She's actually making a lot of Zerglings right now.
Oh,
Quite
is she?
a few
Actually
on the way.
Try to dart out here?
It might be. A couple Lings going up to chase away that probe as we see. SOS doesn't know exactly how many Zerglings are being made, so you see 4 right there. That's very normal.
But
at this
she can
point
always
in the game.
hide the rest,
That's
which
right.
is the tricky part. And again, it's in a game of incomplete information. This is a lot of times how you want to do it.
Look at that.
Okay,
6 Zerglings getting out before the Adept can see, leaving those initial 4 that SOS already knows about. This is a very complex mind game that we are seeing from Scarlett, who is also getting an evolution chamber, maybe to drop them into the base.
It appears that Scarlett may have effectively duped SOS here. SOS, financially the most accomplished StarCraft2 player of all time. The entrance to the natural, the second base here for SOS is exposed. Is Scarlett going to be able to run in and possibly start taking out a lot of workers? Yes, she will!
Yeah, she's going to surround this first Adept and get an easy kill right there. That is a huge moment. Going after the pylon now. That will unpower the gateway. No more units would be able to be made. So, of course, SOS coming out with his probes, attacking, but it won't be quick enough.
Power out over at SOS's natural expansion. The links now go in, and it looks like Scarlett's going to try to gear up for a big drop here into the main.
Multiple Overlords being morphed right now for big drops coming in and not able to make any more units. When this Oracle runs out of energy, there's going to be almost nothing left to defend.
Scarlett's continuing to produce more and more Zerglings. She wants to get this closed out right here, right now. The gateway and the cybernetics core are powered up again, but Scarlett's trying to chew her way through that position as well.
Oh, the Adepts shade down to try to hold this front entrance, but then the Zerglings break through. They're in the natural right now, trying to kill off all these probes and to drop into the main base.
Scarlett now barreling into the main base. So many workers now being taken out. There's really not much to defend.
Oh my god, the amount of damage here is massive. 8 probes, 9 probes already falling, 11 probes dead. SOS trying to hold on, but he has almost nothing left.
Scarlett now spilling down here into the second base, nothing to defend. SOS scrambling to try to recover this. If SOS cannot hang on and stabilize, he will lose this game.
SOS, these are his last legs. He's standing on more and more Zerglings, flooding up right now. The Oracle's trying to clean up these Zerglings, but the damage is massive.
And it looks like yet another Adept goes down, goes down, allowing these Zerglings to try to spill in. I don't know if SOS can stop this at this point in time, Artosis.
The Oracles are running out of energy. They can't kill anymore. There's almost no probes left over here for SOS. He's trying to stay alive. Another Oracle pops out. If only he can survive here, keep these probes alive.
24 probes now going down. Pretty soon, SOS will have no more workers remaining, as his count is down to 5 workers total.
Oh, SOS, if only he could stabilize, but Scarlett has kept this aggression on. Zerglings going after this Nexus, and that is it. GG! Scarlett is the IEM PyeongChang 2018 champion.